Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lauren if you're new here, and if you're not new, you're the best. Thank you. I appreciate you. Today we are going to be reviewing something that I went back and forth over whether or not I should buy it because I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Glamlite. I went through a very long period where I had to buy every single one of their launches, regardless if it looked the same as a previous launch. And a lot of their palettes are very rainbowy. They kind of look similar. When this palette launched, I was like, that's different. That's a little bit new. And I do feel very strongly about Glamlite's shimmers. They're beautiful. They really are beautiful. So I picked up a couple pieces from this collection. If you couldn't tell what collection we were talking about, it's the Glamlite Chucky collection. And I was actually surprised mine came in the Kohl box, but it did. And it was pretty exciting when it showed up. I wonder what the mail workers think when they're like delivering these packages. Like, what? Is this an actual Chucky doll? What is in here? I bet they're not thinking this is makeup, right? Anyways, so we're reviewing the Chucky Glamlite collection. I picked up a couple pieces from this collection, not the whole thing because I didn't want it, but I really wanted the palette. So today we are going to be talking about the Crazy in Love palette. Now, this retails for $32 on Glamlite's website, and while it's not available now, it's available for pre-order. So I'm sure they got a whole ton of requests for this palette because look at what a fantastic job. I hope this is showing up, but the packaging, oh, so good. And then we have a very dark and moody palette inside, and that's really why I wanted to pick it up, because I was like, this is something very different from Glamlite. They don't put out a lot of dark leaning palettes. There's a lot of rainbow. I didn't know how I was gonna feel about it once I had it in my hands, but I wanted to find out. So this is the first product we're gonna be talking about. And of course I had to get the mirror. I didn't need anything else from this collection. They had a bunch of lip products. They had some cheek products as well, but it was the mirror in the palette. I love when they do mirrors. Now, this is the Romance is Dead mirror, and it retails for $15 on Glamlite's website, but it's currently out of stock. I hope they restock it. I love when they do theme mirrors. It's such a good job. They did such a good job. Okay, so that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Hunter is joining us. Apparently, he also wants his makeup done today, but we don't test on animals. We're going to be doing some swatches of the palette. We're going to be putting it on my face, and we're going to see if I can work with such a dark toned palette. Now, normally I don't go for this many darks in a palette. Like, this is just, it's very dark. And I have found out that when I go too dark with my eyeshadow, it just makes me look really old. Like, it just ages me dramatically. So we're going to see if we can create a cohesive look that I'm happy with out of this palette. And yeah, and then talk about it. So let's get into some swatches and then let's get into the look. Okay, so let's get into the palette swatches. Again, just to show you how cool this is. It's pretty cool. They did an awesome job with the packaging, I will say. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so first color is Wanna Play. Sorry, make sure you can see this. Next color is Good Guys. Next color is It's Time to Play. Oh, it's not swatching great. Chucky and Tiff Forever. Scarier Than Ever. Issue 666. Oh, that's pretty. I Like to Be Hugged. Ooh. Holy moly, that is pigmented. Play Pals. It's Showtime. Till Death Do Us Part. Your pal since '98. Oh, wow, that's pretty. He's back. Let's be friends. Charles Lee Ray. And last, got Free Hugs. So that is the entire palette. It's very pretty. Swatched pretty darn well, except for a few of the colors. A few of the mattes didn't swatch super well, but that doesn't mean they're not going to apply beautifully on the eyes. We will find out. Okay, let's get into the look. Okay, so I've gone ahead and primed my eyes with my favorite Give Me Glow primer in the color Parchment. And yeah, I guess we're just gonna get into this. I'm a little nervous. I feel like those shimmers swatched like magic, which no surprise. The mattes though didn't swatch as nicely as I thought they would. That doesn't mean anything though. I always say you can't trust swatches. You can't really trust the palette until you put it on your eyes. That's what I think. But I think first we're gonna go into this brown in the corner, Scarier Than Ever. And I'm gonna start by putting that all over the upper lid. And again, I'm a little nervous because very dark palette. We're doing this. Now, I definitely have had a movie marathon in the past with my best friend where we watched a ton of Chucky's. No, you know what? That wasn't Chucky. That was Leprechaun. We did, where were we? I think we were in Santa Barbara. And there was all these Leprechaun movies on TV, on Sci-Fi, of course. And we watched a bunch of them, and they were so bad. But you know, the original Leprechaun is a classic. It has Jennifer Aniston in it. First one wasn't terrible. But then you get to Leprechaun into Hood. And yes, that's the actual title of the movie. And it was so bad. It was so bad. Like, oof. Okay, so that actually went on pretty nicely. Might have brought it a little bit too far out. I'm getting like a tiny bit of patchiness just at the end, so I'm trying to cover that up a little bit. Okay, that's better. But that actually, I thought it would be much darker. It's not as dark as I thought it would be, which is good, because I wanted something that I could work with a little bit. I think one color that I really want to use all the shimmers. They're so pretty. That Charles Lee Ray color though was so pretty. What are we gonna do? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put, okay, it's Showtime, maybe towards the outer end of my eye. I don't know what we're doing. But I want to use all of these. And this is a very black-based shimmer, so it's very dark. Which I don't mind because it's giving more color, right? So I know that I've watched the Chucky movies. I know they just came out with a new one, and we definitely watched that one. I didn't think it was as good as it could be. And I am blanking on the details of it, to be honest. So that's not really a great sign. I remember liking it, but not loving it. But the original Chucky's, I don't know how many of them I've watched. I've definitely seen a couple where he and his wife, Tiffany, have a baby. They have a little, yeah, I'm pretty sure they have like a little baby doll, and he's like a strange kid and they don't know what to do with him. Like, right? That was a movie. That was a strange one. Oh, okay. This shimmer is really, really pretty. I'm really trying not to go too deep with this look, but I don't think there's really much of an option. It's a very dark palette. I mean, they have that pretty silver in the corner that's a little bit brighter, but this is actually not as dark as I was worried it would be. So this is good. This is good. But you know what? We are going to deepen it up just a little bit. So I'm gonna go into Play Pals right here, and I'm going to kind of just blend a little bit into the outer end of my eyes. Not too much. I think that's evening it up a little bit. And you know what? I think we're gonna do two different looks because you can't really use too many colors from this palette on one eye without it getting a little bit overwhelming, I would say, just again because there's so many like very deep dark colors, and I want each color to kind of shine on its own. Okay, just kind of blending that dark color into the edges. I feel like one thing that I could always work on is blending more. Trying to kind of blend out the harsh edge. Okay. Well, you can kind of still see it. It doesn't really want to blend. Okay, there we go. Okay. I have to go in this color. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put Charles Lee Ray in the middle of my eye and see how that looks. So one issue you're gonna run into with darker colors like this is they don't layer super well on each other. They kind of fight for seniority. And it's hard to layer colors when they're this dark, right? Like a lot of these colors have a black base to them. So they just kind of run together a little bit. Okay, so you can see the color, but it's just not as vibrant as it was when I swatched it. So I think putting it on your eyelid alone would definitely bring a lot more color to it. So let's go ahead, let's put it in the corner of my eye as well. It is still a very pretty color. This actually reminds me a lot of the new Odin's Eye singles. They have a red that I'm kind of obsessed with, that I like to use, that is just really pretty. And it also has a black base, so it reminds me quite a bit of this one. Okay. No, a little bit of fallout from one of the purple colors, but not bad for having so much pigment. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go on with the silver, Want to Play. And I'm actually gonna put that in the middle of my eyelid and see what that looks like if I try to layer it on top of these darker colors. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay, so this is working pretty well as a topper. Oh yeah, well that's pretty silver. Okay. It's so dark for me. I never go this dark. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm gonna go back into Scarier Than Ever. I'm gonna put that under my waterline because I do like that color a lot, and again, I don't want to overwhelm the look too much. Okay, I'm gonna go back into Play Pals and just bring it down a little bit into the lower lash line, just so it kind of connects the two. Oh, I don't know if I like that. I definitely will have to go over with my beauty sponge and just kind of clean it up a little bit between the fallout, which is going to be a little bit difficult to clean up, and just the dark colors. It's a lot for me. It is. But I mean, so far the colors are going on really well, which is good. And again, the color thing is just a preference, so that's just my personal preference. It's harder for me to work with a palette as dark as this. But we're doing it. We're doing it. Let's do something different on the other eye just to get a little more use out of this palette before we decide on our first impressions. For this eye, I think we're gonna do kind of my favorite, which is doing a halo look. So we are going to, oh, it's kind of hard to do with this palette. It's very, very dark. It's very, very dark. Okay, we're gonna go into Good Guy, and we are going to first use that in our halo look. So basically what I do when I do a halo is it can be as messy as I want it to be, but it's pretty simple. Just do one color all over the lid. This color is blending out pretty well. Okay, and then just using the exact same color on the inner and outer corner of my eyes. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into issue 666, this pretty purple, and I'm gonna just put a little bit on my finger and put it in the middle of my eyelid. Okay, I think this look is much more my style. It's very simple, right? Like we did that in like 2 minutes. But I think the colors are a little more what I like. That purple is really pretty. So easy. This is why I love doing a halo look. I think it always turns out stunning. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do a cut crease or anything like that, which you can if you totally want. But I normally do this just to save time. Okay, I think I do want to go back into, I don't want it to be too dark. So I think I am just going to go back into Good Guys, put that underneath my waterline to complete the look. I hope it doesn't make me look like a corpse. I don't think it will. I'm actually liking it quite a bit. I look a little dead, don't I? I do. This is a great Halloween palette. I know it didn't come out during Halloween, but I feel like it is a fantastic Halloween palette. Like, I'm gonna get quite a bit of use out of it during Halloween. Okay, I think what we need to do is we need to put on some eyeliner, some mascara, and talk about this look. Looks, and decide how we feel about them. So I'm gonna go do that. I will be right back, and then we're gonna talk about my final thoughts on this Chucky Glamlite collab. Okay, we have eyeliner and mascara on, and I also went in with a little bit of highlighter. So let's talk about it. How do I feel about these looks? I feel conflicted, and I think it's really just a personal choice. So first, let's talk about how this palette performed, if I recommend it, if I think it lived up to the hype, because this was everywhere for a little while. I feel like everyone was talking about this. I think the shadows performed really well. I think there is going to be some issues when you're layering them on top of each other, just because the colors are so dark. When they're this dark, it's really hard to differentiate between the different colors. It's a little harder to do a look with, you know, a ton of colors from one palette, at least in my opinion. This is all my opinion. So because there's so many colors that have that black base to them, they just kind of muddle together a little bit. So you just have to be careful when you're layering them on top of each other. I think there are exceptions, of course. I think this silver, they did a really good job creating a color that would layer well on top of the darker colors. So using my finger in that silver and just patting it all over the lid, I think worked really well. And I will say Charles Lee Ray is a beautiful color. The red is so pretty, and I think it really would have shined if I had just worn it by itself. But I did not, so it didn't really have its opportunity. Still, it's on my eye, it's still pretty, and I do think this is one where I would want to use a darker primer. My primer is pretty much my skin tone, so if I had used a blacker primer, I think this one would have really, really popped. I'm gonna have to play around with that to see if that's what happens when I use a darker base. Now, this eye I'm definitely more of a fan of, and I will say that both the colors I used, because I only used 2 colors on this eye, they were both beautiful. This color, issue 666, so pretty. And, you know, the gray wasn't bad. I was really worried that I would look like a corpse. And, you know, maybe when I edit this video, I'll look back and say, oh no, you did. You did look like a corpse. You looked like, yeah, you did. But we'll see. We'll see. I like what I'm seeing now. I actually really think all the colors applied really beautifully. Fallout is definitely an issue. It's not a huge issue. There was less fallout than I expected, but don't do your base makeup before doing this eyeshadow because I wiped quite a bit of it off trying to get some of the purple off of my eye. It is just very, very pigmented. So you want to keep an eye out for that. Overall, for $32, I think this is an excellent palette if this is a color story you're interested in, or if you are just a huge Chucky fan or a horror fan in general. I really do like horror themes. So even though Chucky is not my favorite horror movie, it's, you know, I don't know, there's a little bit of nostalgia in there for me. I don't know. That's how they get me every single time. Overall, this is not a color story that I see myself reaching for a lot. I feel like I would need to bring in a more neutral palette so that I could kind of let those shimmers shine on their own. But everything I used performed really well. I was worried when I swatched those mattes that we would have an issue with patchiness. I didn't find that there was any issues with patchiness. There was a little bit of issue blending out some of their darker colors. They stuck to my eye. They did not want to blend out. So just kind of keep that in mind. You might have to do a little bit of extra blending. Your hand might get a little bit sore, but I mean, that's really nothing that's unexpected for darker colors like this. So it's just something to keep in mind that I found when I was using this. It's a fun collection. I'm glad that I picked this up. I didn't need it, if I'm being honest. I didn't need it in my collection simply because I know I'm not going to reach for it a lot. But I was so excited to see Glamlite put out something like this, and I did kind of miss their shimmer formula. I haven't pulled out any of their palettes in a while, so I wanted to get some use out of this. And I do think that there's a few colors in here that I'll be reaching for quite a bit. Charles Lee Ray again, so beautiful. Issue 666, really, really pretty, and I want to do more halo looks with this color. And actually any of the shimmers. All of the darker, like black shimmers that I swatched were gorgeous. But again, I don't know how often I'm personally going to be using them because my taste is just kind of geared towards brighter color stories versus the darker color stories. Either way, the palette performed beautifully, which was very good to know. And you just can't get enough of these packaging. Like, they just do a good job. I just love when a company really puts the effort into the outer packaging as well as the inner packaging. You can't just have one. Like, even this box, very impressive. This was just a fun palette to pick up. I'm glad to have it in my collection, and I'm glad that I got to try it on camera with you. Let me know what you think below. Do you think this was an epic fail? Is this something that you want to pick up, or is this something you have and you love? Let me know down below. I hope you're all having an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!